Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At-Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay-at-home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight, got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet, cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Home Dad Chat. This is going to be a great episode. We've got a wonderful guest with us, a good friend and brother to the stay-at-home dad world. Danny and I are going to get to talk to Shannon Carpenter about his new book, The Ultimate Stay-at-Home Dad Guide. But before we jump into that part of the conversation, sorry you missed us the week before. Danny was moving and I had all kinds of crazy life issues, so we didn't get an episode out for last week, but lots of things did happen. And so just to recap, we're going to go over a few little details and just so that you know what's going on. Danny, did you get to see any of the announcements while you were out traveling?
Well, of course, I saw the one about Shannon.
Well,
That other guy, I don't remember what his name was. He doesn't know.
Hey,
absolutely
Vernon
matters. Yeah,
Vernon Gibbs matters. I'll fight for Vernon.
No, me too, man. Me too. We met him Home Dad Con 4 or 5 years ago or something. He did one of the, I did something. I remember his name from one of the things he had previously.
I met him at Dad 2.0, so I haven't, other than that, that's the only time I've gotten to meet him. But yeah, well, before we get into that, so here's some things that people might have missed, and you can check these out on our social media platforms too, and I highly recommend you go do that. So we had the announcement that Rodney Kellum is going to be giving a virtual closing keynote on Saturday. We've got a breakout session with Andrew Chris talking about who I am, the identity of as a man and stay-at-home dad. We've got Shannon Carpenter and Vernon Gibbs doing a panel on writing your book and getting it published, and David Stanley is going to be moderating that. So nice little trio there of guys who have lots of knowledge and getting to publish their books. And then we also had an announcement that Peter Steinberg, who is a stay-at-home dad OG, is going to be talking about what comes next, life after being an at-home dad. So some really awesome things have been put out there. So that was the week prior that we didn't get out. And then also along with that, you had the announcement of last Monday, which would have been the Home Life, which is a real estate agent that works to help get your house sold, and they are all over the country. So it's really easy to get and find them and maybe help to sell your house or even buy a house. And then after that was the announcement on Tuesday that Fodata is partnering with the convention again and going to be putting out an awesome shirt that was designed by the president of the organization, Jonathan Heisey Grove. And the shirt looks like a replica of a Cincinnati Reds jersey with the same sort of thing, only it says dads across the front of it. It's got Home Dad Con on the back across where the nameplate would be, and then the number 25 for the 25th anniversary of the convention, followed by the sponsors and things like that. So really cool shirt, all in red with white lettering. So it's going to have a really neat look to it. And then the big news, the thing that really dropped, and I think most people will probably have been surprised about, is the fact that already we have the schedule published for this year, which is unheard of. Me and Nick Sabaki have worked very hard to nail this thing down. And we're really excited to be able to actually put that out publicly for everybody. And you can find all that information at homedadcon.org and get to see the speakers and the schedule and things like that. So that's pretty much the recap of everything that's gone on. And so it's exciting, and we are just days away from Home Dad Con finally coming to fruition in person. And I'm excited and nervous and anxious all at the same time.
Well, you've been doing a lot of work, and I don't think people really realize the amount of stuff. I mean, I really don't even realize, and we've talked quite a bit about it, but I know you've been pushing it. I mean, you've been and too many irons in the fire, in my humble opinion, as a fellow dad and a caretaker. I think you should slow down, man, but I know you're not gonna.
I think I've only had 4 nervous breakdowns. I'm good.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Some scotch, some beer, you'll be all right.
1 for each kid and 2 for Home Dad Con. So
yeah.
It's all good.
You're fine.
Anyway, I digress. So tonight on the show, I am just pleased to have Shannon Carpenter on with us. I've gotten to know Shannon over the past couple of years. He and I have worked on the newsletter for the organization, and I've really gotten to just enjoy talking with him and just kind of throwing ideas against the wall and seeing what would stick to put out just a nice newsletter for everybody to get on a monthly basis. But even better than that is this book that he's getting ready to launch in October. And I'm a little bit biased because I'm actually in the book, and there's a whole bunch of other dads who are also in the book. But Shannon's been working his butt off, man. And so he's been getting it out there. And so, yeah. So I just wanted to welcome Shannon Carpenter to the show. How you doing, man?
It's good to be here. Do I cheer for myself? I want to cheer for myself. There we go.
Yes, you should. Yeah, yeah.
I know. I need like
I'm
an
my
audience.
best cheerleader.
Yeah. You deserve it, though, man. Truly.
Thank you. And I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be talking to dads, man. This is like what I like to do more than anything. It's just come out and hang out and talk. Yeah.
Well, you're in good company. I mean, you got Danny over here drinking a nice scotch and smoking a cigar in his at his new place in the garage. I'm a little jealous because I'm like, man, I mean, I know you don't like the word man cave, but that's a pretty nice setup for one.
I like the vibe that's going on here a lot, actually. This is really relaxed. I dig this, man.
Yeah, and I've poured myself a double oaked bourbon from Starlight in southern Indiana. It's a 4-year-old bourbon that's 116 proof, so it hits really good after going to a teacher meeting and dealing with a whole bunch of people who weren't in masks, and my family was, so that's not awkward at all. But I don't care. I'll stay safe, and I'll just drink this down, and that'll help even more.
Yep. It'll all feel better in the morning.
Mm-hmm. But man, what have you been up to? Because I know you've been busy. I mean, you've been working the circuit, but on top of that, I know that just recently you did your big dad's trip. So tell us what's been going on with you.
So, yeah, summer is always busy for me because, especially since the kids have started going to school, summer is like primo time. Because I've been a stay-at-home dad for 13 years. When they're not here with me, after a while, I miss them. Not after a while, like day one, I do. Mm-hmm. So summer, I try to make up for it with adventures and memories and the things that I want to build with them. So we did a dad's trip, which was 5 dads, 16 kids, no moms. Went to Kentucky this year, saw a lot of weird stuff, a D&D park, which was amazing out there in Illinois, near Marion, Illinois. So if you guys got a chance, go see that. And, it's a 4-day trip, 1,300 miles. And we just pick a direction and go. We saw the world's biggest baseball bat this time. I had to miss, the kids got upset. We missed the world's longest go-kart track. That was like on the list. And I misread the website of times and they weren't open and they got really mad at that one. I was like, I'm sorry, guys. Because we've been doing this trip since the kids were 4 years old, 5 years old. And that's our oldest. My youngest son went on his first dad's trip when he was 4 months old. Right.
Wow.
And this is like what they know. So it's a big deal. So we did that. We got ready for that. And then the writing and the book and the circuit stuff, and then trying to get good dad advice out in the world. That's been the real hustle more than anything, because there's the world of dad advice needs help. There's not enough.
So when you're out doing this, I mean, you come in and it's like, ooh, that's a posse coming in. What's been the interaction with like the locals that you run into? Because I'm sure people's got to ask questions. Like somebody's got to be like, I'm going to be the nosy one.
A lot of people ask questions. We've had people take pictures of us for it because the way it works, there's 21 of us at one time, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're a big group, and the kids started young, but now like half of them are teenagers, and one of them is old enough to actually drive on this trip now.
Right,
so
I
he
saw
drove
pictures of that. Yeah,
I know. Like Adam was 4 years old when he first went on this trip, and now he's driving. So this is the best way to say it. We like to eat in local diners as much as we can. These little bitty places in these little bitty towns, because we spend the majority of our time in those places between the cities, right? These little towns that have 1,000 people. And so we go into diners, and when we all walk in, you can just see the waitress and her eyeballs get big. She's like, oh no, because we're not small and we're not quiet, but we're really well behaved, and they freak out for a minute. And so they usually lead us back to our tables or our room or wherever we're going to eat. And everyone just kind of stops and looks at us. And so I've taken that opportunity just to say hi to people because they love to talk. I love to talk. I talk all the time. And then we sit down, and then we put the waitress at ease because we have a system. We've been doing this for long. We have a system. So the waitress actually never talks to the kids, like, at all. At the very beginning, we order 16 waters for the kids, 5 waters for the dads. No one deviates, no Cokes, no sodas, no nothing. This is what you get, right? And then the waitress comes to each dad and he orders for his whole family. Now the kids are old enough now that they actually text us what they want, right?
Oh, that is a great use of technology right there.
It is, right? And it's a lot easier this time. And so we just show her our text, or we read them off in the text. She writes it down. And then when the food comes out, it comes to the dad's table, and then we scream the kid's name and they raise their hand and come get their food, or they get delivered. And so by the end of each meal, they love us. And I think this year,
well-oiled machine.
It is. Awesome. It works really well.
Right.
After 11 years of this, it should work good. And so at the end of this, we've gotten, like, this last trip, every waitress wanted to take a picture with us. You know, either holding the book or just hanging out. And then they ask who we are, where we're from, and why we do this. It's because we need to make these.
Well, and now you're like semi-famous with the fact that you got a book. So I'm sure, like,
I did show him the book. I was like, and hold the book real quick, you know, because one of the kids, she said, is this really the dad's trip, or is this a Shannon promo trip? And I was
he called you out.
It's a little bit of both.
Come on.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. And Roy, they all can call me out. I've known them since they were babies, so I don't care. But I'm like, you're in this book, so be quiet. You're helping me promote.
Exactly.
Right, so we've been doing a lot about road trips and such, and we talked about that recently. So I just want to know, how many vehicles did you end up taking?
So we take 5, and usually it's been, you know, 5 minivans. Yeah, 1 per family, but the kids don't stay in their own car, especially as they've gotten older. So we have what we call the swag van is the fun car. And then we had 1 car with all the littles, all the 8-year-olds. We had 1 car. My car was the D&D car, because that's what they like to play and talk about. And then we had Larry's car, and we called that I'm in Trouble car, because when his son got in trouble, he had to ride with him and nobody else. And then poor Mick, no one rode with one of the buddies this time. He had to do the whole trip in his own car by himself.
No.
Yeah, all the kids paired up, and was like, man, we need to drop a car next year. Actually, the hope next year is we rent like a big 15-person van and get 2 of those.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, get the what do you call it? I forget, like the transit van or whatever.
That's right, something like that. But with that said, to see 5 minivans or whatever going down the highway in like the middle of Iowa, the visual is always what I'm after, and that's fantastic.
I got to know, did you play some Jerry Reed when you were heading east?
You know, I'm sure someone did. There was enough going through there, you know. Who knows with all those cars?
either that or the Convoy, Rubber Duck.
Oh yeah, we've definitely played the Convoy. Yeah. And so all the dads between us, we all have walkie-talkies in our car as well. So that's how we keep in touch.
Nice.
And you can hear it when you click it. Yeah, someone's playing that. And
well, I'm a trucker's son, so that's why I know all that stuff. and I actually had the honor of meeting Jerry Reed in his later years one time. Yeah, when he was still performing, and so I got to actually hear East Down and Bound live when I was in high school. So that was really cool. He came to my high school and performed at a big function with a bunch of oldies bands. So that was really neat.
That is cool.
Yeah, so it's near and dear to my heart.
One of the greatest stuff. So we see a lot of places where people were born. The Johnny Cash homestead where he was born.
Oh yeah.
It is in northern Arkansas, way out there in the sticks, but there's some magic there, man. There really is. And the kids actually love that one.
That's so cool. That's good.
Yeah. Yep.
So you've got the dad's trip that's been gone on recently. The book comes out in October. Does it have an actual date in October that it's
October 12th? That is the actual drop of October 12th.
Okay.
And so the book is ready to go. You know, we're doing pre-orders and all that, and they are producing the audiobook now. I'm getting information on that every day, which is fun. I like
That's
that.
Awesome. You can have David. You can have David Stanley voice it for you.
No, he didn't. He's not going to voice this one. But yeah, I get updates every couple of days. They're like, well, how do you pronounce this word? And some of it are the last names of the guys that are stay-at-home dads.
Yeah, they got some pretty good last names.
Yeah, I'm like, that's a very German name. I'm going to call the guy. So I had to do some of that today just to make sure we pronounce their names right when they get their part read. So yeah.
You've gotten to be on some pretty big national stages recently. Where all have you gotten to talk about the book at?
You know, it's the book and the writing, some big interviews with, I think Taffy Dollar was like 1 million people or something like that.
Oh,
She's
wow.
a big evangelist out in Atlanta that wanted to talk about stay-at-home dads. CNBC, MSNBC. I wrote a piece for CNN, and behind the scenes, I got a couple more pieces coming out with CNN about our experiences or about being a father.
Cool.
And then in the future, we got some things booked that I can't say about now, but some good stuff, some big stuff. Yeah.
That's great, man. Now, I understand though, like you have a big passion for something that Danny also has a big passion for. I do too as well, but I think it really falls into Danny's wheelhouse even more, and that's mental health. And just talking about dads and mental health. Tell me a little bit about that.
You know, I like it when I get this question because, you know, we're all stay-at-home dads, right? So we know you guys aren't going to ask me how to cook and why you cook. It's because it's part of the job. And that's how you do it, right? I mean, it's just expected to us. But I get that question a lot. And a lot of people don't ask me about the mental health, which I think is the most important chapter in the book. You know, we've been there. We know the isolation of being an at-home dad, right, Danny?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, we know what it's like to go solo and kind of be that pariah at the park or at the school playground or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that starts messing with your head. And as fathers and as men, we just don't talk about it. You know, it's not
right. Yeah.
It's not a thing to talk about because it's scary to talk about. And it's that vulnerability. And then you feel that maybe you're weak. And that's what I said in the book, that I can do this. I can do this. And I realized one day that was stupid. But the hard part was saying that out loud. And the even harder part was writing about it honestly and with a bit of humor that still got the point across. I don't do sentimental that much. You know, I think dads, we get enough of that. I think we need dads connect with the humor and the stories. And that's what I try to stick to. But on the mental health stuff, that's a big deal to me, man. You got to take care of yourself. If you don't, it all falls apart.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to be your number one, really. I mean, it's not selfish to be doing anything for yourself, really, because you got to pick up everybody else. You're holding everybody else up, really. You're the foundation.
Danny, that's the best way to say it. And it's weird when people hear that, though. Yeah, it's like, all right, how do you do it? And it's like, well, you start with yourself. And we all three have given that advice, you know.
Yes.
And that means, you know, watch out for depression, anxiety, whatever issues you got coming up, because when winter comes around and you don't have any friends yet and you're brand new, it's going to hit and it's going to hit hard, man.
Yeah. I was actually just talking about that recently with some dads in the dad lounge because, you know, we're getting to the point where school's getting ready to start, and you got some dads who have like a small kid, others that are completely kidless at home during the day, that kind of deal. And, you know, that question comes up from people who are like, oh, what do you do all day? Kind of thing. And I got to the point where I've even with running the dads group here in Cincinnati is like, well, what are you going to do when, you know, your kids age out? I'm like, they might age out, but that doesn't mean I'm not a dad anymore. And so for me, like I was telling the guys, like, this is my opportunity to reach out to those dads who are on the outskirts that just need to connect with another dad. So if that means, hey, let's meet up for lunch, like if it's one-on-one, or, hey, like, you know, let me know what day works for you for lunch. Maybe we can have a few of the other dads, like even if they're just stay-at-home dads or guys who are also off that day, like we'll just meet up and have lunch with you and hang out. They were like, whoa, that's really cool. And I was like, or, you know, we've got dads who want to just go on a weekly bike ride, or maybe they just want to go like fishing or something, like at a local like pond or lake or something. So that's, you know, those to me, like that's the mental health where like connecting with other guys and doing those kind of activities together is really what's needed. And I think so many times you see where guys are just like, well, I don't want to ask anybody to do this with me or whatever.
I know.
It's crazy. But I saw on TikTok recently, this guy, there was a guy, he's gay, and he was like, that was part of his thing. He was like, hey, like I'm a gay guy and I just want a fishing buddy. And he put it out there, and the guy was in tears asking for it. And this dude is like big. I mean, he was like a buff bodybuilder guy, and he's, you know, afraid to ask, you know, somebody to go fishing with him.
Right.
It went viral crazy. And he had all these different people coming on, because he was all like, I'm not trying to turn you gay or anything like that. Like that was what he was saying. And it was partly sad to hear that, you know, he couldn't find someone else like this nearby to go. But it was amazing when he put it out there and was just vulnerable about it. And he's like, I just want someone to do this with. And the amount of people, like, it was so awesome. Like the amount of fishermen and just like other outdoors people were like, I'll go like let's get a bottle of whiskey, man. Let's head out, like beer or
Let's
whatever.
do it right.
Let's go do
Right.
this thing or whatever. And now he's got so many people. And on top of that, he's changing so many lives to the point where he's got kids who are just like, you're an inspiration, like your story, like saved my life and type of thing. And that's the whole point when it comes to talking about mental health from a standpoint of us dads, is we got to get it out there so that our kids know.
It is. It's a hard thing. And I knew that the mental health had to be part of the book, and I wanted it to be part of the book, but it was so hard to write, honestly. And so here's a little behind the scenes. When you read it, I wrote that chapter 4, 6 times. That's how long it took me. And I called my editor, Elda, and she's great and funny and understands me. And she said, Shannon, you're going to help somebody. Just keep that in mind. You're going to help somebody. And so I kept going back to that. If one guy reads it and can get value from it, that's what I can do. But it still took me 6 tries to do it. And I finished it. I finally got it right at like 2:00 in the morning, you know, where I finally just let everything out that you didn't want to be let out. Because it's hard to put yourself out there. It's hard because when people read this, they're going to see a part of me that I don't show. Right. I'm the funny guy and do the comedian and the humor writing, and you won't see that at the beginning as much as chapter 4 because I'm trying to be honest, or at least as honest as I can.
Yeah.
Well, and she's absolutely right that the first person to say it is the biggest responsibility, the biggest issue. Once you get that, it's like a rock rolling. Other dads will come along and go, wow, I read what you said, and it hit me. And like she said, it will help. I don't say one dad. I mean, a lot of men that are sitting there in their own, and it might just be a seasonal thing. It might just be, I just feel sad, or I'm just alone, and you are. Yeah. And then you look at it and go, wait, that big dude, the funny guy, he's alone. How is he alone? He's got to have a million friends. He doesn't have this.
It happens,
he doesn't have anybody to go, fishing with. He's got plenty of people to go fishing with. But the reality is no matter how big we are, no matter how just bigger than life, larger than life, like you tend to be, in my opinion, you still have that. You still go back to that because we're all that. And so stepping out of your comfort and showing your vulnerability, I applaud you sincerely. That's fantastic.
I hope it makes a difference. And as a writer, you never really know who reads your stuff. Like you just don't know. Yeah.
I feel the same way with podcasting.
You're like, where is it at? I don't know. Like how many people read it? I'm like, I have no idea. They don't tell me. Like unless
somebody comes out and be like, I listened to your stuff. Whoa, that was great. And you're just like blown away by the fact you're like, wow, you listen to my stuff. Like, oh yeah, that's the whole reason I put it out there. But okay.
This is weird. I got my first little piece of fan mail, an email. It's the first time it's ever happened. And I wrote a story and someone tracked me down. I was like, I loved it. I just want to let you know. And I was like, you just made my year.
Yeah. Awesome. And you deserve it. You really do.
Thank you.
That's cool. That's like, I remember when I first started my podcast, I had a few women from my church who were moms come up to me and they were just like, I really like your podcast. I'm like, you're listening to my podcast? Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Well, see what I do. So that's happened. People have read my work when I show up, and I'll tell this story. So my wife's office is a big fan of my work because I make fun of them. Like I literally make fun of them, and then they come and they like it. It's weird, right? Yeah. And so I met my wife's like big boss, and she came running up. She's like, "It's Shannon, it's Shannon." And she just gave me this big hug. I'm like, "Who is this lady?" Yeah. And she said, "I'm Joey. I'm your super fan." So she's like a super fan, right? And then what I thought was like, oh, so she read my work, and I was like, man, you must be so disappointed in the reality of what you're seeing versus what's on the page there. But I get it.
Never meet your heroes. Never meet
I
your
know.
Heroes. Let me be a figment. Let me be as awesome as you think. It's like with my kids. Let me just remain as awesome as you think I am. Let's not get into it.
I know. Just let the voice carry you. It's like I'm like not 6 foot, and I'm just kind of like this guy. And I'm like, I don't know who you're expecting, but I haven't had hair for 20 years. But that's what it is,
Well, I will say though that anybody that's listening that hasn't read any of Shannon's work, honestly, like there are so many different places that his stuff's out. I mean, just Google his name and it'll pop up on so many different types of media threads. So it's definitely worth it. I'm curious though. So I met you, I think was it Dad 2 San Antonio? Was it San Antonio?
Dad 2, the first time we actually met in person, but I knew you online before that.
Yeah.
I kept up. Yeah.
But I went to the Dad Voices that night that I met you. Yeah. And you read the story about your son saying the word penis at the public library.
Yes, I did.
Did that ever get published? Or was
several
that
times? Yeah.
Did it? Okay. Okay. I have to say, anybody who wants to get a just gut busting laugh, just go look for that one. Actually, if you email it to me, I will put it on the link, because it is by far one of the funniest freaking stories. I tell that to so many dads who just need a good laugh.
I think you should tell everybody, just Google Shannon Carpenter penis and just
you know what? Whatever you come up with there, that's on you.
Don't click images on that one.
I've done some weird stuff to pay the bills, man. We talk about side hustles later.
$20, right?
I know.
Boy, this whole conversation. way to send this conversation down a whole different alley right now.
You're welcome.
Oh man. Anyway,
that story got published on Fatherly. It's actually there. If you Shannon Carpenter Fatherly, I have a couple there, because the other one is on there is when I accidentally sent a sext. I was trying to, spice up my wife and be all cool. And I was like, show me your boobs. And I sent it to my mom. So that's the other story on there. Yeah. I was like, oh crap, Mom, I'm so sorry. And I'm like 40. So, she's a grandma. Yeah. When you had sex, Mom, but still, this is weird and awful.
She's like, I'm pretty sure you saw those when you were little. I'm going to be like, you're good.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah. Just go on Father, you'll see a couple of those.
It's all good. So back to the book. Is it Pink? What's the publishing company that's publishing your book?
Penguin. It's the biggest publishing company in the world. They are 100% behind the dad thing, and the support that they've given me has been nothing short of amazing. That's really awesome. It's kind of scary, actually, a little bit.
And how many dads did you bring into the book? Because I know you were talking to a ton. Like you were constantly asking guys stuff in the national group.
So that was only part of it too. So there's a lot of guys that I did other stuff with. Yeah. So there's 57 dads that are printed. Let's put it that way. And I talked to probably 75 to 100. I lost count. Okay. I don't know. Some guys it was a quick conversation. Some was background. Some was just kind of, give me some, advice. And some of it was giving me the same advice someone had already given, because we all talk. A lot of dads talk. And so I couldn't double up on that. But yeah, there's a lot of dads on there. And that was a big part of me in the book, because the book is meant to show you that you don't have to do this alone. Yes. And I think that's one of our biggest problems is you go in alone. But there are groups and people out there. And so the book acts as almost like your own dad group. And it's like, here you go. All these guys, they have your back and they know what you're going through.
Right.
So yeah.
And I mean, the book's not a long read. How many pages is it?
200 and something probably. It's not okay. I'll tell you the way I wrote it, because I know the dad's gonna be reading it, don't have time. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got a toddler on your leg. I mean, if you tried reading like that, it's hard. Right? Mm-hmm. They're gonna bite you or something.
Right.
So it's meant to be read in quick spurts when you can. Very specific things. Because
so in other words, tuck it underneath the Kleenex box on top of the toilet seat and read it when you're hiding in there.
Yep, absolutely. When you're folding laundry with the audio book, and it answers specific questions. So you won't get those platitudes. It's like, how do I do this? Like specifically, and that's what I like about the book.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I cook with 2 toddlers on my leg? And I got answers for that. And the guys got answers for that.
Yeah.
What would you say was the biggest shock while putting the book together for you?
The biggest shock. How, and it's not really a shock, but everyone was so excited to be asked real questions about parenting. That what you see in the book, there will be a quote from somebody like Brock or Danny or somebody else. And what you won't see is the conversation behind that quote that I talked to some guys for like an hour.
Yeah.
For fun. And they were just so excited to share that fatherhood knowledge, because it's just not a whole lot of it out there, like real stuff that tells you how to do real things. Like people would get excited. They're like, all right, let's talk about how we do side hustles. Let's talk about, how I clean. Like they're excited about telling people how to clean right,
Yeah.
And I think I didn't expect that kind of openness. It was, I know I wrote this book and there's my dad's group is in it quite a bit after each chapter. And they joke with me, it's like, well, we really wrote the book. Shannon just wrote it down. And that's kind of what I feel with after talking to the whole community. Everyone just gave me all their advice and I just recorded it. That's what happened.
Sounds like the apostles trying to write the Bible.
Although my jokes are tight. Those jokes are original to me.
No, that's great, man. And so with all of that put in there into play and everything, I mean, I imagine the kid, like, I don't know. I find it always interesting, like when you talk to somebody who's like done something big or whatever, and then like they're like, "Oh, what do your kids think of you?" Kind of deal. They don't care. They got shoes up. They got Nikes on their feet and they got food in their face.
Yeah.
You know, I asked my kids, "Are you gonna read the book?" I was like, "It's about you." And like all 16 of them. So all their names are in it. And I put all the names of my nieces and nephews. I stuck them in the back, right? Because I can be the cool uncle. And I asked my kids, "Are you gonna read?" And they're like, "No." It's like this is about you. I'm like, "We don't care." I'm like, all right.
But the other thing too, like, so when it comes to stay-at-home dads and books and things like I know with the At-Home Dad network, and especially Home Dad Con, like a lot of times I get dads who are just like, so this is a convention for stay-at-home dads. I'm like, well, I mean, it's steered towards stay-at-home dads, but like any dad can come to it and learn stuff from it. Like it's about fatherhood. Like that's the whole thing.
Right.
And so I kind of feel like, I mean, would you say that that's something with your book where it's like, this is, I mean, it's stated as the ultimate stay-at-home dad guide, but in all honesty, like it's got it pertains to dads who want to be involved.
That's it. You know, and the funny thing is you say that, and I say this actually in the book, is like, stay-at-home dad, working dad, here's our secret. We don't care. Like none of us cares. Come to playgroup. If you work on your regular schedule and you're a firefighter or a night stalker and you want to, you know, come in for a playgroup, come. That's like the whole point is dads creating moments for dads. And so it's said that in the book. And the same with convention. If you want to go learn how to be a better father, then come. Because this will actually teach you how to do things. The first convention I ever went to was 2010, so it's been a while, right? And I learned from a hairdresser how to do girls' hair, and I'm bald. That's a big deal for me, right?
Yeah.
Like I can do a legit tight bun. Like my buns, I would put them up against anybody, and my ponytails aren't bad either. But they're those physical things that dads need to do, that we want to do, that we kind of fumble around with when you're figuring out. But going to the book and going to these places, dad period. Yeah. And if you're a mom listening to this and you want to help your husband, and he may not ask for it, because that's another part of the book. Did we ask for help? No, not as much as we should. You know, but this will help him, like help him get it out of the house. There's a whole section on how to adventure with your kids, what you need to bring, and where you need to go. That's a big one, you know.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, I think that's something that a lot of, I mean, parents in general, but dads especially, like, all right, like how big and extravagant do I have to make this outing for it to be memorable? And it's funny because a lot of times, like, it doesn't have to be anything that big. Like I took my kids fishing at a like little lake not too far from the house, and like they loved it. That was a big thing. Like they were asking to go fishing, like begging for it. Like, all right, fine. Like I got my license and we went out and went fishing and had a blast. We never caught a thing, but they had a fun time just trying to do it. And you could see my boy trying to mimic everything that I was doing. And my daughter was just having a blast casting. I mean, honestly, like I could see her getting into fishing. Like she can for a 6-year-old girl, almost, she can cast that sucker almost 20
feels good, doesn't it? Watch him really go.
And she's got a bobber on the end of it. I mean, she's really throwing it out there. We're doing it with just spinner bait. I mean, she's out there with like, you know, a fake lure and a bobber, and she's casting it out 20 feet. I'm like, all right, girl, with a Snoopy pole, the old 1980s Snoopy pole. That's what she's got. So she was killing it.
Like how many of us here have bought those Marvels, those little starter poles, right? Those little 3-foot poles. That's how you start them.
Yeah. That's
and the thing about that is I think a lot of new dads, and I ran into this in the group, they get stuck and they go into places that seem safe, the mall playground and story times. And it wears on you because they're kind of boring for dads, right? And no one ever talks to you there. And I make the point, no, they don't. And I made the point, and Brock just said it, take them where you want to go. Take them fishing, you know? Take them to a Civil War battlefield. You know what that is? It's just a giant field. Kids love giant fields. No one cares. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We would go hiking in the trails, and I would teach them how to identify like animal tracks. So we, you know, like there's a deer track, there's a dog track, or that could be a coyote track. Or if you're my son, you'd be like, that's a wolf track. I'm like, there ain't no wolves around here.
It's gotta be wolf.
We'll go right ahead and think that's quite adventurous of you, sir.
That's right. Leave that be.
Yeah. And we would always joke around like, well, maybe we'll find a dinosaur track somewhere. And of course that just speaks every kid's interest. So, but yeah, definitely. I mean, take them out to places you want to go to. That was the thing.
You want to go. Yeah. I mean, one of the we did a tour of a coffee factory. One of the best tours I've ever done, right? Kids don't like coffee. Now they all tried it for the first time and they were like 4, and it went as well as you. They're like, oh my God. And we're like, shut it. But yeah, take them to do that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, my daughter's 5 and she loves to like grind the coffee beans in the morning and she loves the smell of it. And, but I guarantee if she took one sip of it, she'd be like, nope, that's not for me. Nope. And so, but it's just, that kind of stuff is always fun to do. So
take them to where you want to go. It's for you as much as it is for them.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, hey, Shannon, thanks so much for coming on the show. I am really pumped to get this book out. I will say this, with being the person who gets to pick what books are going to be on the giveaway for each month. I've got set for your book to be the giveaway for October since it's coming out, which falls in line with Home Dad Con and everything else. And with you being there, that's going to be even better. So that's my plan is to have that in place for the announcement for the beginning of October. So if anybody is listening to this, like be looking on social media so that you can maybe get your free copy. And if you don't get your free copy, go buy it anyways.
I'll sign it. I'll sign it right there and there.
There you go. I will be there at Home Dad Con with my copy. I'm thinking I'll get it because it comes out. It's like on the 12th, so I think it might have enough time to get to me. But if nothing else, I'll come get one and get it signed. Because I will tell you, this is one of those things where you look back and go, "Oh yeah, I know him."
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you bringing a suitcase?
That book.
Yeah, you know what? I will probably, and this is the great thing about Penguin, they've taken so good care of me. They'll probably arrange some sort of independent bookseller to be on site. Nice. So you can just get it right there, and I'll sign it, and I'll give you any advice that you want. But you'll be around. Everyone who comes to the convention, you'll be around all these guys that are actually in the book, and those are the guys that I look up to. So when I give you advice, I'm going to go find the guy that gave it to me, and I'm going to point him out and make him come over and talk to you.
Well, this is going to be great, man. I mean, after the year that we've all had, this is going to be an exciting culmination of things, of the convention, of your book coming out, and just really just a time to celebrate fatherhood. So I'm really excited for all of that to finally take place, and for me to basically give over whoever is going to take over the convention next year to take it. Just take it. And I'm going to run in the opposite direction while I light myself on fire.
You've done your time now, man. You've done your time.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, Shannon, thanks for coming on the show. Dan,
glad to be here.
You got any parting words for him? Or are you good?
Just thank you. I really appreciate you being here, and I appreciate we went through the virtual DadCon last year, and I got an opportunity to listen to you speak at that point. And one of the tips, honestly, that you gave, just handed out during that, I'm still using today.
Good. I'm glad it worked.
Use a shop vac in your kitchen. You get a
oh
shop
my God.
vac.
And I'm telling you, right?
What?
We've talked about that on the show.
What kind of a dad am I that I didn't know that? I mean, I felt like
it's okay.
You should have gotten. Yeah, it is. It's cool. That's cool. But absolutely. I have 2 in the house now. One little tiny one that I actually went and bought specifically, so the kids can kind of go around with it. But I was using the old regular vacuum or trying to get the dust buster. It's garbage, you know. And I'm like, how has this not been a thing my entire life? Come on.
You know, my dad's group made fun of me because I did that 12 years ago. I was like, no. The kids love footing crap and stuff, and so they'll dump it and they'll do it, and I ain't gonna touch it. Greatest thing I've ever done. Still love doing it. I still get it out. Yeah. So
awesome.
But yeah, thank you for being here, guys. I appreciate it.
Definitely. We'll have to have you on again so we can talk more dad advice stuff. So
I could do this all day.
I know we could. That's the thing. Like, there could be a whole nother episode to all this, so you'll have to wait and hear for the next one. So, well, hey, thanks again, and everybody have a great day, and we'll see you all next week.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.